Every morning, Alina stood before her mirror, but not to smile. Her eyes searched for flaws. Every line, every imperfection, every reason to believe she wasn't enough. The world saw a talented young artist, but inside, she felt like a fraud wearing confidence as a mask. She painted beauty for others, yet couldn't see it in herself. One day, after another long night of self-doubt, she walked to the river just to breathe. There, she met an elderly florist named Nara, a woman whose calm presence felt like sunlight. And with one simple gift, Nara would change how Alina saw herself forever. Alina had always been a dreamer, but lately, even her dreams felt heavy. In the small town where she lived, her art was admired by many, yet the praise never reached her heart. Every time someone said, "You're so talented," a quiet voice inside her whispered, "They don't see the mistakes." She would stay up late in her little studio, staring at half-finished paintings, convinced none were good enough to show the world. The walls around her were blank, though they should have been covered with color. Her brushes lay untouched, her canvases silent. When she looked in the mirror, all she could see were reasons to hide. "I'm not beautiful enough, not smart enough, not good enough," she'd whisper, her reflection echoing back in agreement. Her confidence crumbled more each day, replaced by comparison and doubt. Everyone else seemed to be moving forward, selling art, gaining recognition, living happy lives, while she felt stuck in a fog that wouldn't lift. One evening, exhausted and overwhelmed, Alina took a walk by the river, hoping the sound of water would quiet her thoughts. There, under the fading sunset, she saw an elderly woman arranging wildflowers into small, colorful bouquets. The woman's movements were slow but graceful, her eyes peaceful. "They're beautiful," Alina said softly. The woman looked up, smiling. "Thank you, my dear. But beauty isn't in the flowers. It's in how we choose to see them." Something in her tone made Alina pause. "You sound like you've never doubted yourself," she said. The woman chuckled. "Oh, I have. For many years, I thought I wasn't enough, until I learned to stop judging myself and start thanking myself." She reached into her basket and pulled out a small wooden mirror, carved with delicate vines. "Take this," she said. "Look into it every morning and thank yourself for one thing. Just one." Alina hesitated but accepted it, unsure what such a simple act could possibly change. As she walked home with the mirror pressed against her chest, she didn't know it yet, but she was holding the key to her own healing. The next morning, Alina sat by her window with the wooden mirror resting on her lap. The vines carved around its frame seemed to glow faintly in the morning light, as if urging her to begin. She took a deep breath and looked into it, but all she saw were tired eyes and a face that felt too ordinary to be loved. "Thank myself?" she murmured. "For what?" The silence in the room felt heavy. Still, she remembered Nara's words and whispered softly, "Thank you for trying." It felt awkward, almost foolish, but something inside her loosened. For the first time in months, her voice didn't sound like an enemy's. The next day, she tried again. "Thank you for your hands," she said quietly, glancing down at the paint stains on her fingers. "They still create, even when my heart doesn't believe." Each morning, the task grew a little easier, but with it came unexpected pain. As she looked at her reflection, memories resurfaced. The cruel words from her childhood, the teachers who compared her to others, the people who made her feel invisible. Every "thank you" felt like stitching a wound she had ignored for years. By the fifth day, the mirror had become more than an object. It was a test. One evening, After finishing a painting that didn't turn out as she hoped, frustration consumed her. "What's the point?" she cried, throwing the brush aside. She picked up the mirror, staring into her reflection through angry tears. "You'll never be good enough," she shouted. The words echoed, and then silence. Her reflection stared back, hurt, as if it were a friend she had just wounded. She dropped to her knees, sobbing. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so tired of hating you." In that moment, she realized the person she'd been fighting all along wasn't her reflection. It was herself. The next morning, she looked into the mirror again, her eyes still red but calm. This time she said, "Thank you for forgiving me." And for the first time, her reflection smiled back. The following days felt different. Alina no longer looked at the mirror with fear or judgment, but with a quiet sense of curiosity. She began to notice small changes. Her shoulders weren't always tense, her breathing was slower, and her smile, though faint, returned without forcing it. Each morning she found new things to thank herself for. Her courage to start over, her patience to heal, her strength to keep painting even when it hurt. The mirror had become her morning ritual, a gentle reminder that progress isn't about perfection, it's about kindness. One morning, she stood before it and said, "Thank you for being human." The words lingered in the air like a prayer. That same day, Alina walked back to the river to find Nara. She wanted to tell her how much had changed. When she reached the old wooden stall, she found Nara arranging flowers just as before. "You were right," Alina said softly. "I used to think the mirror was magical, but it was never the mirror. It was me." Nara smiled, her eyes full of warmth. "The mirror only shows what you choose to see, child. The magic was always in your heart." They sat together in silence, listening to the wind and the water. Nara handed her a small bouquet of lilies. "Keep this one," she said. "They bloom even after the coldest winter. Just like you." Alina looked down at the flowers, realizing how far she had come. For the first time, she felt peace. Not the loud kind that demanded proof, but the soft kind that simply existed. She no longer needed to be perfect. She only needed to be kind. As she walked home, sunlight danced across the river, and for the first time she smiled, not at what she saw, but at who she was becoming. Weeks passed, and the mirror still sat by Alina's window, but she no longer needed to lean on it to believe in herself. Its reflection had become a quiet companion, a reminder of how far she had come. Her days now carried a rhythm of calm purpose. She returned to her studio with a heart full of light and began painting again. This time, not to prove anything, but to express what she felt. Her canvases were no longer filled with perfect strokes, but with colors that breathed honesty. Each shade spoke of healing, of forgiveness, of rediscovering worth. When her friends visited and saw her new work, they were stunned. "There's something different in your art," one said. "It feels alive." Alina smiled and replied, "Because now it's painted with love, not pressure." One morning, she decided to visit Nara again to thank her for everything. But when she reached the riverbank, Nara's flower stall was gone. The spot was empty except for a small wooden box resting on the stone wall. Inside, it was a note written in delicate handwriting. "Dear Alina, the day you stop needing the mirror is the day you have learned to see yourself clearly. Keep teaching others how to find their reflection in kindness." Beneath the note lay a tiny silver pendant shaped like a mirror. Alina held it to her chest, tears filling her eyes. She looked at her reflection in the river and smiled, not out of pride, but gratitude. From that day on, Alina began teaching art at a local community center. She encouraged her students to create without fear, to see mistakes not as failures, but as colors that make their canvas unique. "Don't paint to be perfect," she would tell them. "Paint to be real." Her words touched many hearts, especially those who struggled like she once had. And every time she saw someone doubting themselves, she would place a small hand mirror in front of them and say, "Start by saying thank you." Because Alina had learned that true beauty is not in the reflection. You see, it's in the love you give to yourself when you finally stop judging who you are. When you stop judging yourself, you give your soul room to breathe. The truth is, no one in this world is perfect, and no one was ever meant to be. We grow not by criticizing our flaws, but by accepting them as part of our story. Like Alina, each of us holds a mirror within, a reflection shaped by how we choose to see ourselves. If you look through the eyes of judgment, you'll only find reasons to hide. But if you look through the eyes of kindness, you'll see strength, beauty, and grace staring back at you. So speak gently to your reflection, forgive your past, and thank yourself for still trying. Because self-love isn't pride, it's peace. And the moment you learn to love who you are, you'll finally see that you were never broken, only waiting to be understood.